The Canes are talking, so we are as well here on a Canes Wednesday night here at the Voice of College Football. Comments and questions are welcome. You know that. Leave those in the chat. We appreciate your contributions. We lock it in here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with Cam Underwood from the State of the U for show number 436. But this time it's that pinnacle of talking season that leads right into August camp. And when we know that the teams across the country are descending on locations for media days, that football is not far away.
Exactly, man. Yeah. So we are just continuing through summer and everything. So yeah, getting towards AC, what they call it. What do they call it? What they call it? My goodness.
Kickoff.
Yeah, ACC kickoff. Right. Cool. So they're doing that. I know people have seen these things. I've been playing a dynasty with Hawaii on College Football 26. You know, the hang 10 is like their sign. And so I've been doing that, but like it's also a hand sign for another organization of which I am not a member. So I am trying to do it because of Hawaii, not because of this other thing. So it's a, if you know kind of a thing. So I have had people be like, I am not a member of that organization. It is a fine, upstanding organization. I know many people who are members of the organization. I am not. So I'm just putting that out there. So if you think, oh my goodness, I'm trying to abscond that or whatever, it's for hang 10 for Hawaii. That's how I have been using it. So and as I did it and saw it on screen, I'm like, oh my goodness. But in any event, welcome in. Hello to everybody. Starting off with a new member with their new first time, John Bird in here. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate that. Like and subscribe, everybody who's in here and everybody who watches and listens later. It starts off with a nice compliment about enjoying our content and everything. Hurricane fan his entire life. I was not a Hurricane fan my entire life, but ever since I enrolled at the University of Miami, my friend John, who is from his next message, seems like a contemporary of mine because he is a year older than I. Because I will be Hank Aaron double 4 this year. But yeah, man, awesome stuff. Glad to see you and everybody else. And as I keep clicking on other stuff, TC, go Canes. How we feeling? Feeling pretty good. We'll get into the nitty gritty of that later, but and everything. And then Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle. Salute to you with the super sticker. And as he says, I beat you, Falconer TRX. LOL or ha ha ha. Sorry, I got it out of order from the. If you watch Morgan J, he has a thing. So he's a comedian who does songs and auto-tune. It's a song anyway. But yeah, man, a lot of preamble and everything. But yeah, glad to be here with everybody. Glad to get started and kicked off. And yeah, we saw. Sorry, hold on. Oh, my friend is texting me about his video game Dynasty. So.
And what is the hand signal for his?
He's at Michigan trying to play with my cousin Bryce Underwood. And so he called me earlier. He's like, "Yo, I love Cam Underwood," and I was like, "Bro, thanks. I love you too as a friend." He's like, "No, that's not what I was like." That's what he said. Anyway, so he's going through that and everything. Yeah. So, but he jumps around. He likes a team, and so he'll play for 37 seconds a day, and he'll be like, "Oh, I got through 3 games." And then he just bounces around. Like, I really build the world in mine. I'm gonna have to change mine because I got caught at my dynasty is basically ruined because of a glitch that's getting patched tomorrow. So, long story short, had a bunch of juniors who transferred out because of playing time, not getting but who were starters on my team. So I lost 11 starters in addition to the guys who graduated because it's this glitch. So anyways, all of kinds of different stuff. But yes, we are at ACC Media Days kickoff. And yeah, I thought that it was great to hear and see from everybody with the University of Miami. I thought Mario Cristobal, he's a great representative of the program. He speaks well and everything. The one reporter always asks him about cafecito, the Cuban coffee, which is like, if you've never had, it is like a rocket fuel on steroids to the 10th power. Like the little cortadito, oh boy, man. But he was like, yeah, I can't really find it up here. So he starts speaking some Spanish. He's like, yo, ayúdame, like anybody up here who can make it, or people of that descent living in Charlotte, let me know. So like that was good. Interesting that he said, basically when his regime got here that Miami didn't have the talent to compete at the Power 4 level at all, which is what he said in response to a question. And he illustrated that point by saying, they were at a donor event. I should have looked up the year, but whatever year it was that Miami almost didn't have a player drafted, I think it was like 3 years ago, where it was like the first person drafted was late 7th round from the University of Miami. And it was like, that is emblematic of the lack of talent that we're talking about, because Miami's had a player drafted, since 5 ever, except for that 1 year. That streak almost ended. And it was like, that showed the bereft nature of talent, or the dearth of talent, in the program. And as his regime has been here and been building it up, it's funny to me that he still continues as somebody who like doesn't say certain names and things, I love how he just continues to, the place I used to be out west. And I'm like, you work in Oregon, bro, just say Oregon. Like, it's a state, it's one of the lower 48, just say it. And he refuses, and he's very measured about it. He's like, in the previous, he mentioned Justin Herbert by name when he was asked about a Carson Beck question. He was like, well, at the previous place, and everything, we had Justin Herbert. I was like, so you're going to call the players by name, but not the but hey, that's how he wants to do it. I thought Carson Beck spoke really well. I think that he's very confident, and he has a right to be, which is what I've been saying. I don't fashion him like Cam Ward or anything, but I just think the pendulum's swung way too far onto the he's trash side of things from a lot of people. So that's pretty crazy to me. Good to see Francis Mauigoa there. I don't like the narrative that people are trying to spin already that he's a deficient player because he plays right tackle and not left. There was the one guy who asked that question, and I've seen other people like bandying that about, and I'm like, he's 6'6", 335. He started at right tackle since day one, right? And he's going to go to the league after this year, probably, and be a first-round NFL draft pick. This is not a substandard player, but it's just like this pedestal that people put left tackle on, right? And like, look at who's been playing left tackle. Like Jalen Rivers, who might not be a better player overall, but he's older, was more developed, and he was damn good. He was like second team all ACC 2 years ago. You know what I mean? So like, this is a player who can play, and then when he got injured, you put Markel Bell there, who's 6'9", 345 pounds, and has like 4% body fat. It makes no sense, right? And then you're going to have him there again. And Markel Bell was so good last year that the staff said, we need to continue to find ways to play this monster at left tackle, even with Jalen Rivers on the team. None of that is a demerit to Francis Mauigoa. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Ask Penei Sewell how terrible it is to play right tackle, who just got a new deal, is arguably, by some people, the best tackle in football, and he is playing right, and there is a guy who is 6'8" with long arms, who plays on left tackle on the other side of that line in Detroit, who's gotten a deal before, but not making it say. It is not, I just hate the framing that if you're a right tackle, basically you suck. And I just disagree with that wholeheartedly. I will agree with, if you are trying to build the hierarchy of offensive line positions from a value proposition standpoint, tackle in general over, I would put it tackle, center, guard, with a pretty big gap between all of them. And then if you wanted to individual or organize the list, yes, I would have left tackle first and then right tackle second, but tackle matters. So I just thought that was in poor form and poor taste to basically ask this guy, you play this position, you play it really, really, really well, but you suck because you don't play on the other side of the line, right? Like, that's the subtext. Nah. I didn't rock with that. Good to see Wesley Basaint out there. Good to see Akeem Mesidor out there. Interesting that there was no Ruben Bain. And I get Akeem Mesidor is a year older or two, and he's buttoned up and professional and everything. And I mean, I'm not saying, I get it, like he's going to be a captain of this team, and everything. especially in a year when a strong season could potentially lead him to the NFL draft. And he's been mocked in the top 15 more times in a little bit, that being Ruben Bain. I found it curious that they brought somebody else. And I mean, look, same recruiting class as Francis Mauigoa. So you can't even say, oh, well, they just brought seniors and no juniors. No, they didn't. So, I mean, that's kind of my thing.
And Cristobal did mention that somebody was not there because of a family obligation.
Oh, well, maybe that was Ruben Bain. So that could be it.
But he didn't say who.
Right. If that's the case. He did say that. So, yeah, I mean, but it was good. Have been watching and listening to a bunch of different content and, interviews and videos on YouTube. My algorithm is all Miami Hurricanes right now, as opposed to the random hodgepodge. I'm not even going to get started on that because I watch a lot of different YouTube videos. But yeah, it's very, 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 very overwhelmingly Miami Hurricanes right now. But that's not a bad thing. And also, before I transition it back to Mark, another place that's always Miami Hurricanes? Stadium.com. You should go there.
If you remember, what was the response to the right tackle, left tackle question?
It disgusted me to the point where I stopped listening. I turned the video off, actually. But, I mean, reasonably, like, I'm really, really good. I play right tackle. Like, you got to have guys to do that. Like, it's not. Yeah, it just, the framing of it was just so piss poor from that journalist. But hey,
it's like questioning a second baseman who's going to the Hall of Fame and saying,
right, Ryan Sandberg,
shortstop.
Yeah, Ryan Sandberg, you're a Hall of Famer, right? Why don't you play shortstop? Yeah, you didn't play shortstop. You didn't play center field, like up the middle of the diamond, right? You could have, gone there or anything, but like second base, you know what I mean? But hey, whatever. Falconer TRX, I'll throw it up. I see you in there. They're celebrating up earlier in the chat about beating you in here today, my good friend. And yeah, I will save that other super chat because I don't know where you want to go, but it will lead us to another point of conversation away from ACC kickoff. So, yeah.
So I chose, because I didn't have time to take in as much as you did of Mario Cristobal, I chose to take one of the side interviews because I just thought it would be a little meatier than Mario Cristobal, obviously just picking and choosing whatever he wanted to say as an intro, as they do from the podium. So in selecting one of these, side interviews, it's funny, first of all, to note that the guy is there. There's no play there. There's no witty banter. There's no clever
Ain't no jokes in Mario Cristobal's world. No, it's all serious.
Yeah, it's straight to football.
Yeah.
And we're not going to make this a circus. Like a lot of coaches like to soften things up a little bit and go that route from here to here. But he does not go that route. But when asked about summer camp, it was system, ball security, technique. And I found it interesting the way he spoke about culture, about toughness and mental toughness being part of culture that can be worked on during August camp.
Yeah, that and communication, because especially on defense, were the pillars of basically, his platform of like, this is what we're doing and how we're doing it. But yeah, I thought that was illuminating as well. And I believe it is a thing that you can develop and train. You just have to put the parameters in place. He famously, last year when Cam Ward was here at Miami, and a lot of people, South Florida Sun Sentinel, Miami Herald, The Athletic, So I'm giving you the outlets to let you know that multiple like full-time journalists, as well as bloggers and commenters such as myself, right, went, and it was told and reported through these people and repeated by Mario. He was like, yeah, so how did we build the resiliency or test that muscle in Cam Ward in the offense? we would call random penalties, take points off the board in practice, right? Or in a scrimmage. You block it up clean, Damian Martinez out the frame, out the front door, boom, gone. On the sideline, by the way, call that holding. Call it holding. Wasn't no hold, you know what I mean? But he's just like, we're going to make some stuff up. I'm going to interject it in there. Boom, call it holding. Call that pass interference. Call it illegal lineman downfield on RPO. Call this stuff that didn't exist and did not happen, and then on the ball. See how they bounce back from that. And, oftentimes Mario Cristobal was like, yep, Cam Ward would just kind of be like, really, coach? All right, back it up 5 yards. Cool. We're going to call, whatever, and then, do it again. And through that repeated scenario, he was able to that's one example of what can be done to strengthen mental fortitude moving forward. And anybody who's on this roster who lost to Georgia Tech in 2023, if that was not something through which you had to work and develop mental fortitude, the Don Chaney didn't fumble game, and we should have taken a knee and just ran out the clock because there was 22 seconds left. That game, yeah, you got through that. So that's a thing you can say, okay, this is a real a game example of a thing that we can do, and then infusing those into fall camp. So even during position drills, even during individual drills, during a lot of teamwork, a lot of different kind of things and ways you can do that. And there are things, obviously, just as with the calling random penalties from last year, that's one iteration of an example of how you do it. But there were many more on top of that. But that was the thing that was used, we're trying to build this culture. We're trying to build this resiliency. Here is an example of one thing that we did along that path.
It could be a tendency to some coaches when they hit the jackpot with a Cam Ward to try to find maybe a lower grade Cam Ward out there somewhere in the transfer portal. But I think it's going to prove that Mario Cristobal was smart enough just to seek quality at the position. So he was asked about, what does Carson Beck bring to the table? He said, we watched so much film, it'd make your head spin. We just watch film. He's competitive, knows how to run an offense, played in high leverage games, generally performed well in those high leverage games against quality opponents, et cetera, et cetera.
Mark said generally, because I know people are going to listen and be like, Texas last year, 15 for 42 for 156 yards, no touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Generally, right? No player is perfect. And I'm not sitting here saying, and none of us are sitting here saying Carson Beck is perfect. But again, if the focus is only on that Texas game.
Was it that bad?
It was 56% completions, less than 175 yards and 3. I literally just looked it up.
Okay. As soon as you said 15 for 42, that's 38% or something.
Oh, so yeah. I exaggerated for comedic effect on the actual, but
I'm with you.
It was game long.
He did throw 3 picks.
Sorry, it was 23 for 41, 175, 3 picks, no tuds.
Yeah.
Objectively terrible, but I know people are like, well, he played good in big games, Mark. Generally, there are exceptions, and there are other games that they won, even last year, where you can point to the fact that he played very well. You know what I mean? I just think it's the pendulum has swung too far onto the he's trash because, and I get it. If you're a casual fan, a diehard fan of a team, and then you watch a little bit of a lot of different things around the country, I get it. If you were cool, this spotlight game, Georgia, Texas, I'm dialed in, popcorn on the couch, give me a beer, give me a Coke. I'm watching every snap of this game, and you saw that game and he played poorly and didn't check in the year before or any game thereafter. I get it. But there are many other data points that you're ignoring for somebody who, 15 games, 14 games in 23, and then another 14, and then we got injured last year. You know what I mean? It just, yeah. So to the point of your lead-in, yeah, I agree with a lot of things that Mario Cristobal said. regarding Carson Beck. He's a talented guy. It seems like he's very confident. When he was, talking to reporters, he had an air of confidence. Like, I'm not a true freshman, 17-year-old, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid. Like, I've done this. You know what I mean? Like, I was a quarterback at the University of Georgia, the starting quarterback the last 2 years. They didn't want me to leave. Kirby Smart brought me in and gave me every opportunity. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do to keep you around here. Like, we want you here as a Bulldog to start next year. And Carson elected to say, nah, I'm going to leave. Bro, he's better than people are giving him credit for. Short story long.
Appreciate you being here, the voice of college football. The audio from these live streams, you can catch those on your favorite audio platform. And also, again, if you get a product, a service, personal brand that you would like to highlight, we have always had great responses from the people that we have partnered with as sponsors. So hit me up at sponsorships@vocfb.com. So I think Mario, and again, this was not from the podium. It was one of these side sessions with, I would like to give them credit. I think it was ESPN West Palm.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah. So I think he was taking some shots at Lance Kidry on the defensive side, not naming him by name, but basically saying we played some good football for about 4 weeks. And then after that, we did have some injuries, but you have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to just get the job done and figure things out. Mm-hmm. And I kind of connect that to an earlier response he made when he said, August camp is about figuring out what you do well, what you don't do well, and either making a decision to a certain extent to improve what you don't do well or be able to circumvent some of those things. And it was just, to me, a kind of obvious statement that he was not pleased with the lack of adaptability on defense last year.
He actually said that from the main podium, too, of something very similar when asked. I mean, he's just like, look, we played, 4 weeks pretty well, had some injuries, and then the injuries precipitated schematic changes. And the schematic changes just didn't work. And couple that with the lack of depth and talent when you're missing starter after starter after starter on the defensive side. Ruben Bain, who somebody in the chat confirmed was the player who had a prior engagement, so that's why he's not there. Ruben Bain got hurt on the second play of the game at Florida and was not himself the rest of the season, right? But you're missing him for weeks at a time. He didn't come back until I want to say Louisville after the bye. You know what I mean? Like, so he didn't come back until game 6 or 7. You were missing Jalen Rivers for a lot of time there, but that's only offense. Offense is fine. But, Damari Brown injured in the opener, didn't play the rest of the year. Jadis Richards snaps his leg later in the year. Those, and so you're seeding talent from a group that didn't have a lot of it to begin with. And then, and this is where he linked in communication. Because it was just, we were just running scheme that the guys couldn't really do, and it was taken advantage of a little bit of Mish Powell because of where he played in the defense. But he was a traffic cop in, a sensory deprivation tank, and everybody had, masks and helmets on that couldn't see and couldn't hear because he's out here communicating. It's just like if you have ever played, football, obviously, but I was a basketball player growing up. So you're talking on defense. Hey, screen come. Hey, on your left. You're talking to the other guy. So you're moving as one where you are, and you would see Mish Powell literally pointing. Oh, okay, we're running this coverage. Great, Mark. You're over there. I'm passing this to you because my responsibility is taking me to this other guy, and then they're arguing after the play before they go line up for the extra point because the opposing team has scored. And that happened so often. And Cristobal also did himself say maybe he should have interjected more. So he started by looking at himself and saying, maybe I should have went over there and said, hey, let's maybe don't continue running all these things. Because if you remember the Cal game specifically, when they had the 4 longest passing plays that they've had in umpteen years of Justin Wilcox being a defensive-minded head coach, being their head coach. It was CFB, the video game on freshman. It was just layup line. I mean, just shoot over the top and wide open spaces. Why? Because we're running some things. They're running specific scheme busters for that because we know this is where this guy's going to go. We're going to fake this, go there. All of a sudden, we're wide behind open. But other teams were doing the same thing, and it didn't necessarily change from that. And yeah, it was. Look, I like Lance Guidry as a person. I think that he had done a reasonable. It wasn't award winning or anything, but I thought that he had done a pretty good job, especially the previous year. And obviously, the Florida game was a masterpiece when we were at full strength to start last year. But yeah, as the season went on, it became apparent I like you as a person, but you don't got the range. And it would be disingenuous for Mario just to be like, well, I mean, we were great and nothing was wrong. And we just wanted to know. And another thing he said in the same response at the main podium is well, actually not the same response. In the response, talking about building the team and the organization not having, or the program not having enough talent to compete at the Power 4 level when he got there, said, last year we had the opportunity to win every single game. We did not accomplish that, but we had the opportunity to do so. But then you link that with the defensive stuff, and it's just plain and simple. Also, as well, in addition, he did say there were some ball security issues late in the year or in the games that we lost. Hey, man, I'm not calling any names. I'm not going to say anything past that, but I know somebody on this here microphone who was talking about a specific turnover in that goddamn Syracuse game, and it was interesting to hear Mario say, well, you turn the ball over in really tough spots and end up losing. Oh, okay. It was months later. This is 7 months after the fact. But this here day to day, I am vindicated. Man, feels good. I mean, it feels good that my opinion or my statement was vindicated. It didn't feel good to lose that goddamn game. But the fact that I was the only person talking about it, and then until today, Martin was like, yeah, we turn the ball over in some really tough spots. Trying to told y'all.
Well, for a certain length of time after that game, of course, said player was still on the team, and maybe it made more sense not to direct anything toward him.
He could have said that wasn't the only turnover that we had that day. He could have just said ball security in general, right? I haven't said the player's name. Have you said the player's name? Yeah. I mean, so you could have just said turnovers happen, ball security. Hey, Larry Jefferson, appreciate the comment for being a great show. It's really just the Cam Underwood gets worked up and screams at you hour, but hey, you guys find it it's enjoyable. So, hey.
We do. All right. So then Corey Heatherman obviously has credentials that Mario outlined there that are pretty obvious.
Yep.
As he led a top 5 defense in the country.
They were top 5 in the country.
Yeah.
Jesus. Wow. I knew they were good. I didn't know they were that good. But also, Heatherman comes to Miami very, very, very highly recommended by Greg Schiano, who worked with Mario Cristobal. So he's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody, call around your network. Hey, I got the guy. He just got promoted out of here for a job. I got the guy for you. And that real strong recommendation from Greg Schiano, remember, who made his bones as a defensive coordinator at Miami, and then so this, he was here same time, all the kind of stuff. But yeah, that really led to that. And I mean, I'm excited. Heatherman is a no-nonsense guy. He smiled with his eyes and barely with his mouth at his introductory presser, but he's a no-nonsense dude. Played quarterback in college and coaches defense like a mofo. So, yeah, really interesting to see that. And, it comes down, you have to just let the players play, but also you have to communicate, and the communication has to be effective. Again, it cannot just be Mish Powell or any singular player yelling at other guys, hey, I'm letting you know this thing, and they're just Clydesdale horses, on the Budweiser commercial, like blinders, just I'm not I'm not listening. I'm not watching. Like I'm looking ahead. So even if you're trying to give me useful information, I'm just focused in here. So I'm interested to see where that will take us. But I am hopeful, especially I would like to go dig into more. And I watched a couple of Minnesota games. I did not know they were a top 5 defense. And Keith Tunstall hired the Baylor head coach. He's still coaching in Baylor, Dave Aranda. And that's, I mean, somebody that we talked about for defensive coordinator back when Mark Richt was here, but like, he is still gainfully employed. I don't know how long that's going to last, but it's true at present.
Yeah, just double checking here. Minnesota, number 5 in total defense last year.
Sign me up.
Yeah, that's not
Sight
bad.
Unseen. If sign me up. Because if Miami's defense plays like that, I am very confident that we'll be in Charlotte for the ACC championship game at a minimum. Absolutely sign me up.
For sure. And I don't know if he said this from the podium, but Mario Cristobal emphasized that this team likes to work. Now, that may seem like a throwaway comment, but he doesn't have to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So he must be highlighting that. It's good to hear that that the mark of this team at this point is that they have worked hard during the off season.
Like that, you got to work. And it's when I talk choir, it's a thing that I try to impress upon my students. The better you are, the harder you have to work. You just do, because other people are out there, working, and in the world of music, like, we're performing to the standard, like to a rubric, you know what I mean? So it's not even when we did some competitions, but usually it's like your group goes, my group goes, and then we're judged against the standard rubric. It's few times in the world of music where you're like, okay, cool. But even still, if you reach that, you still have to continue pushing. And then I would put my groups in some competition settings and be like, no, now it's not just us against the rubric. It's us against everybody else who's performing. It's not even that. Y'all got to line up and hit and smash each other. You know what I mean? Like you gotta work. And that's in the macro. In the micro, there's somebody new trying to take your job. Ray Joseph, Malachi Tony is here for one express purpose: to take your snaps. What are you trying to do about it? Because he's young and hungry, and he's going to be working. Are you willing to do that? I singled that one out because I know a lot of people talk about that, but that's at every single position. There's somebody else who wants your spot. And look, if you're the backup, you think that the third strings aren't trying to get your backup rotational snaps, as opposed to just standing on the sideline and telling jokes every single, snap. They would love to be out, involved in the planning and playing 8 to 10 snaps a game. While I get your 8 to 10 snaps, you're trying to be the starter, but you got to keep it pushing. You have to work. It has to be foundational to everything, because if you don't work, you're going to lose, right? If every single player on this roster was just sedentary and just, paused in time since the end of last season, wherever they played it at whatever level until now or until August 31st, it wouldn't go well. So, yeah, I mean, I love to hear the fact that they're working, and I'm hopeful that this is very much a moral victory statement at this point. But I'm hopeful that 10 wins and almost making it to the ACC championship game lit a fire under their ass to be like, hey, we were close and failed. And that failure is is going to be the fuel to the fire that pushes us or gets us there this season. I would have just rather won and then be like, okay, now from year to year, it is continuing the level of excellence of getting to and hopefully winning the ACC championship game and beyond. We didn't get there, so we'll see. But I am hopeful, with that. And yeah, I love to hear the fact that they're working, as opposed to, hey, we're pushing them to work, or we're trying to get that buy-in and that culture. And there's some guys who, went on vacation for 2 months, or they like things like that. It's, even if people think it's a throwaway statement, it's much better than the inverse.
And with that, unless you've got anything else from ACC Kickoff.
No.
We can take this from our buddy Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle. Thank you for the contribution. That transitions us into a situation where one of the best running backs in the country denied the likes of what Georgia, Florida State, and Ohio State. But the difference with Miami is that he's in the backyard.
Yeah.
And he chose the University of Texas.
Indeed, he did. Give me 2 seconds.
Every Wednesday night, folks, we show up, and we've done it 436 consecutive weeks. And here we are on another Wednesday night. Thanks for being here. You may have noticed that we've started up shows elsewhere in the week, so lock in on those on Mondays. And I believe we're going with the Thursday show, if I do recall correctly. Mondays and Thursdays here at the Voice of College Football Miami. So multiple times per week. Talking Canes. And we've got a show that I take your calls Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That's over on the national channel.
Awesome. Sorry about that. Everybody just had somebody at the door. And whatnot. Yes. So, Derek Cooper. Juan Manuel V. I share a YouTube creation channel. That's why that logo is there. So no, I didn't change to anybody else, but that's why it looked like that. I said it at the time, and I stand by it. When he pushed back his commitment date, that's when the game was afoot. Because why else would you do that? And I tweeted at the time. I said it on here. I said I'm hopeful that it goes the way that I want it to, but why? It was pretty widely known in the world of recruiting that he was going to pick Miami. Derek Cooper was, through the month of May and June. And then he postponed his commitment. And like I said at the time and said, yeah, I just don't feel good about it. And we saw what happened. Sucks. There's no two ways about it. This is, a player on the ilk of all, 80 million receivers and defensive linemen who have gone elsewhere over the course of years. But yeah, I mean, especially for, a guy at a program that you recruit really, really well. And I know people are like, oh, well, Jeremiah Smith. Yeah, I know. But, when you look at how many guys from that program over the course of many years have been here, we're on him earlier. Like, we didn't recruit Davion Gauss, the senior running back, a couple of years ago because we were recruiting Derek Cooper as a freshman. You know what I mean? Like, this is, freshman and sophomore. So for years of investment and engagement to go wanting in this recruitment is just not good. And I don't know why for a coach and a staff that recruits really well, right? Like Mario Cristobal, everybody knows he's one of the best head coaches in recruiting in the world. How many times have we seen, national writers and things say, hey, you do not want to be heads up against Mario in Miami at the end on signing day. But with the new cycle of players committing in July before their senior years being like the time that a lot of top blue chip guys commit, I don't understand why we keep failing so much at this time. And one would think you start with a couple pebbles and, metaphorically, and they start rolling down the mountain, and that turns into an avalanche, and you get that momentum, and you keep going in the world of recruiting, and it gets better, and it gets more. And in Miami's case, it's the inverse every year. I mean, February, March, April, even into May, pretty good to very good. Again, people in the chat talking about Jackson Cantwell. Absolutely. Number one player in America, right? So you get that. So you figure that's a massive, massive boulder on top of the mountain. Now it's going to be, woo, we're going to take off. That avalanche of momentum and commitments is going to be incredible. And every year for the last 3 years, it is invariably stopped. And I talked last week about all the players that Miami has missed, especially, of the Southern defensive linemen this year and like other guys and da-da-da-da-da. There's so many, and we just keep missing them. But like this year, last year, and the year before, I don't understand why. And I know that they've changed some staff and they changed some processes and recruitment and everything, but like this is the next vanguard of something that needs to change, is losing these battles in July. And to the point, Cooper didn't destroy the recruiting rules. Like, we tried to engage the recruiting rules, right? He has size kills. Size matters is the recruiting rule. Speed kills. He has a lot of that. He's a blue chip guy. He's local. So all things being equal, we would rather him than Jay Lamar. Cool. You can look down. We followed them. Right? We even won more last year than we had won. So it wasn't a championship, but we even hit rule number 9, win, which is proof of concept. Right? And yeah, I see Juan Manuel saying the red flag was that Cooper never visited. He took an unofficial visit. He did not officially visit, but he has been to Austin. So I just want to clarify that. It was largely transactional, though. And I mean, that's fairly well known. Texas lost some battles early in that March, April, May window, reallocated those funds and said, hey, we're the rest of these guys on the board, or a lot of them, we ain't missing. Miami, had that opportunity. Again, we talked last week again about all of the defensive linemen that elected to, and players that have elected to go elsewhere. You can think James Johnson. You can think Bryce Perry Wright. You can think, Jesus, let me look at the official visit list. Boom. Click. Thank you. Nolan Wilson. You know what I mean? That's a guy somewhere else. Calvin Russell, Jay Lamar, even though I know Jay Lamar, Blake Stewart. That's a guy who, so like, you have had a lot of guys who you would have allocated resources, i.e. salary slots, basically in your salary matrix for this class, go elsewhere. That money's freed up, right? But yeah, that fact that it just basically comes down to that. And in 904 Hurricane, I hear you that Cantwell took a nice piece of the pie. But dude, like, again, if we're talking about them reallocating funds, and I just ran down 5 off the top of the dome of guys who were going to get substantial NIL deals not coming in, that money can go elsewhere. So like, I hear you. One running back in the class. Look, they say that all the time, and then they take another one on top of you and or in the portal, depending on who leaves. So there's some of that. I agree to an extent, but I mean, yeah, all things being told, it's just a really, really bad loss on the recruiting trail. I mean, there's really no two ways about it. I think I've given you my viewpoint as to why. If people watching and listening think that that's me crying, which has been the recent critique when I, opine, then that's me crying. But I mean, point of fact is it's a big loss. It's a bad loss on the trail. And I mean, I think Miami can move forward with that. If Miami's hell-bent on 2 running backs in this class, I believe that there are 3. Well, yeah, if there's 3 ways that I think this can go. If you're hell-bent on 2 running backs in this class, you can spin the block on Derek Cooper or Jay Lamar, try to recruit them the whole year and flip them down the line like you did with Mark Fletcher Jr., like you did with Jordan Lyle. That's 1. 2, you expand the board and you go to guys you haven't offered, so maybe some underrated kind of guys, some, diamonds in the rough, or some of the guys who you didn't really press to make a commitment, like a Favor Aki or the other running back from Ohio that we had offered, who we offered and they visited, but like we were like, they're our plan C or D options. So we're not really going to press them. Thanks for visiting. Enjoy your commitment elsewhere. You expand to new players or to those players. That's option 2. So 1, continue recruiting the guys who picked elsewhere. 2, spin the block on some other guys and or expand. Or 3, you just ride with JV and Mallory. So, yeah, we'll see. There's still some major holes in this class. Safety is a major concern, especially because you missed out on everybody at that position that you've tried to recruit. You still need receiver. You still need, you got Samori and Wingo. Yeah. I mean, I would still like another receiver, but okay, I think you can get by. But there's still holes to fill in this class. And I know that we're balancing high school recruiting and portal recruiting just because it's the nature of building a roster now. But even in the high school class, considering that there will be portal additions, there's still holes to be filled. And I would say arguably none bigger than Derek Cooper choosing burnt orange instead of orange.
All right, folks. We do appreciate the support in any way that you can give us. Please like the video. That's an easy thing to do. Subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. And, of course, you can also, as you see a number of people doing, you can contribute financially. We enjoy your comments and your questions as well. And we may have missed a few from Falconer TRX digging in here with another super sticker. And then also letting us know that launching a new strain of turf to take over the NCAA.
Hey, man, you should write a book. I just read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, same guy who wrote The Martian. And they're actually, I saw there's a trailer, they're making that into a movie. And I don't know if I've said it on here. I love science fiction. It's my favorite. I used to go to the library all the time when I was a kid, and my grandmother, God rest her soul, gave me my favorite book of all time, A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline L'Engle. So science fiction, time bendy, time trap. Give it to me. Give all of it to me. And so having just finished this book this week, now it's okay, I could see how you could write some speculative, fiction or some evolutionary science fiction about a new strain of turf that grows to take over the NCAA. So, if nobody else would read it, I would read it. So, hey, that's a thing.
But if you love a genre that much, then you also want it to be quality. So I'm sure you've come across your share of garbage sci-fi and time travel if it's not done correctly.
Or I just there was a book that was recommended. It won the Hugo Award for science fiction, for Victor Hugo. It's like the Pulitzer of science fiction writing annually. This other book, and I got it, and it's done well. There's just something, and I'm not going to say it because I'm just not going to say it, but there is a specific plot point. It's not even a plot point, but it's a part of the plot that is pervasive through half of the book, right? So you have every other chapter is a different point of view. So you have this chapter, which is the good POV and everything, and then this other chapter, the even chapters, because every other chapter, so it's half of the freaking book. And I have it pretending that I were George Bush and I hated broccoli. I've tried to force it down, and I might just to flex the muscle of determination over desire, finish the book despite my not wanting to. But yeah, you can always run into things that you don't enjoy in that or any kind of a thing. 904 Hurricane, Shamar Brown, Marty Brown has 3 years of eligibility. That is correct. He does. But you always still need I'm not letting, even though I think that he is talented and can play a role here, I'm not letting Marty Brown stop me from rooting or bringing in Derek Cooper. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? I get what you're saying that we can forge a path forward without Derek Cooper, but this right here, the statement right here, ain't stopping that. But hey. Also, Paco, what to do, my boy? Good to see you in here, man.
Here's a little time travel for you, folks. Disputed national champions. This is the 1990s. So the reason I chose this decade, I thought demographically it might fit in terms of a lot of maybe 40-somethings and nostalgia, but also, most importantly, that this is the decade where the championship formula changed the most in leading toward what we currently have. And in terms of playing off of Cam's explanation of some sci-fi and time travel, this is not just a history book, but we take all these seasons and we put them into the BCS era, the 4-team college football playoff, the 12-team, and the proposed next iteration. So check it out. The Amazon links in the description section of this video.
Nice. Okay. I see what you did there with the lead, from or the segue. Well, yeah. And to people in the chat, I see you. We need safety and defensive tackle. Yes. Agreed. Heard. Yes, absolutely. I didn't even mention LeVar Brown from Baton Rouge, but as a player that we missed on, but there is. Kingsway, interesting. Hope we expand our offensive scheme, especially in the run game, outside zone and running back screens. I would like to see some diversity as well. It is, you have to make a choice on what you do and how you do it, right? So I think that we have the offensive line to be able to do these things differently. And I think with a quarterback who's a little less mobile, that we can do some of these things to get to some of these places on the field, or attacking different places on the defense or different sections of the defense, but also it depends on what they're running, on the counter side and what their personnel is. But yeah, this is a thing that I have also looked for, specifically outside runs as opposed to inside zone, and whatnot. Base jeering. Carson Beck is more mobile than Cam Ward. In terms of running in a straight line down the field, I could see it. Maybe I misspoke. I would say more like his elusiveness in the pocket. That what's the perk on NCAA? Magician. The one where he's just like, there's a guy there and it should be a sack, and then hey, I'm out of in a short area there. That's more what I meant. So I think that we can both. Right. Yeah. I think he's more of a scrambling quarterback than Ward. Yeah, because Ward would scramble to throw all the time. There are times when Beck, he steps up and it's like 15. I will agree with you, but yeah. So I was more talking about just his elusiveness in the pocket versus getting up the field. Yeah. George. No. I'm going to stop and I'm going to say I am going to say something positive about George here. So, if you need to clip this, go ahead and clip it. I agree with what you're saying. I also think the last thing that Miami wants to see is Carson Beck taking any hits. Not only in an insular kind of a way for Carson Beck and his health, because we know what's behind door number 2. And because if Carson Beck has to miss some time, it literally just popped in my head as I was saying it. Remember that game when Sunshine Lawrence got destroyed and concussed and they had to bring in Chase Bryce from Grayson, that they were losing and he had that comeback?
Sure.
We ain't got no Chase Bryce standing on the sideline. I don't think it would go in a similar kind of a fashion. Now, I know people saying, well, it's Clemson and they have the better defense and they You still Chase Bryce went out there and made some throws. because that defense was like, we're going to crash the run and make you have to dot us up. And he did.
He had a 4th and long in that game that he had to hit on.
That, yeah, because that was 4th on the ball game at the time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't believe we have anybody. And to George's point, if Carson Beck were to be injured or taking a hit that leads to an injury, a la this, this previous Clemson game with Sunshine Lawrence, yeah, I don't know that it would go that well. So I say all to say that I hear you and I agree with George. Good goodness help me.
We'll get back to normalcy now and let you know that we're here every Wednesday night. So make it on time next week, and we will obviously be right on the cusp of fall camp. And we'll start breaking down position units and all that good stuff. And then in the meantime, of course, Cam and the staff's there at the State of the U.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I can say that right now, but hey, we do have a lot of great content over there. We have a couple position previews. Tomorrow is Thursday, so there's a new summer scheming. I'll even tell you the team if you haven't figured out the flow of going game by game. But the summer scheming, where Justin Tatavio looks at the scheme offensively and defensively of a team on the schedule, one successive every week. Tomorrow is our good friends in North Dallas, Rhett Lashley and the SMU Mustangs. So if you're into that kind of a thing and plenty more, please come over to stateoftheu.com and fan with us. And yeah, hey, re-engage with the recruiting rules. I know that it didn't go to our liking with Derek Cooper, but we tried to enact them, and it just, there's a, sometimes you win some, you win some and you lose some.
All right, folks. Again, appreciate you being here. Make it on back next Wednesday night. We'll see you at 7 p.m. Eastern.